Trump has a new target for his National Guard crackdown, Memphis, Tennessee. In an appearance yesterday on Fox and Friends, Trump suggested both Memphis Mayor Paul Young and a Democrat and Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, a Republican, are on board with this decision. Memphis Mayor Paul Young appeared last night on The Weeknight, where he had this to say about Trump's announcement of a military presence in his city.
Do you want the National Guard in your city?
No, we definitely want a partnership with the federal government on providing the resources that we need. We have seen significant reduction in crime over the last 2 years, and we want to keep that trend going.
Pretty clear that he does not want them there. Joining us now, Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen and Tennessee State Senator London Lamar, who have both said sending in the National Guard won't help Memphis in the long term. Congressman, I want to start with you. One of the interesting things about this, President Trump picking Memphis is you have red state governor, blue state mayor. We haven't seen that yet in the other cities that he has kind of threatened with the National Guard. The governor has been there for 7 years. He seems on board with this. But you have the blue state mayor who seems a little bit more apprehensive and frankly kind of under duress. I was watching The Weeknight. I was on The Weeknight last night. He seems like he's under duress. How are the folks in Memphis kind of taking this in?
I think most of the Democrats are against it, and most of the Republicans, MAGA Republicans, are for it. And then the small percentage of thinking progressive Republicans are against it too. It comes down to the old problems we've had in the South of racial politics. And the governor is a Republican. He's a long way from Memphis. The national establishment has always kind of thought of Memphis as being part of Mississippi, which might be a nice way of saying it's a black city and we don't care about it. They've made disparaging remarks about Memphis for years. The governor went along with it. The mayor's not for it. Having the National Guard here is unnecessary, and it is a stunt. It's just a Trump show to show his power and his force. It's just like that picture that we see when we go to the embassies around the world, and it's Trump looking at you in a mean way with a scowl. And that's what he wants to be known as. And I think this may be the first representation of his changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War, because he likes to put the National Guard at his direction as his being the great warrior into cities and go into war. And that's the way he looks at it. So this is the Department of War, and that's against everything this country stands for, having a militarized police force. We're supposed to have a civilian police force, and the military is not supposed to participate. And this is really going too far, but Trump takes everything too far. And I think Senator Lamar, who I'm proud to see on here with me, she's my former intern, and she's come a long way, and she made a great statement on this, and she understands it. There are basic underlying problems that need to be cured, and just sending some folks down here for 2 months doesn't make the difference. And those of you who live in Washington, like I do part-time, the 2 months that they had the National Guard and the troops in Washington, it didn't make that much difference. And when they leave, it's going to be back to the same thing. It's Mayor Bowser and the police department, and they can have some help from the federal government, but not have those people on the streets. Washington did not become overnight the most safe city in the world.
State Senator Lamar, I want to get you in here because Memphis is part of your district. But before I get your reaction to what's going on, let's play what Mayor Young had to say about crime in Memphis. He lists some statistics here. Watch this.
I want to note that we have been making progress as a city on reducing crime. 13% overall reduction in crime in 2024, 19% reduction in violent crime, 29% reduction in murders, 37% reduction in car thefts, and that's in 2024. And on 2025, we're on pace to beat those numbers.
And so, Senator Lamar, y'all don't need the National Guard, do you?
We don't need the National Guard. Listen, here in Memphis, Tennessee, we need to allow our local leaders to continue doing the work that they're doing in order to make our communities safer. And we are at a 25-year low when it comes to murders, a 6-year low when it comes to robbery. So we are making good progress when it comes to creating a safer community. See, the problem with this is that the Trump administration, Republicans, truly cared about making communities safe, they will give us back the $800 million in crime prevention grants that the Trump administration cut in April. So what we need to do is continue to invest in the strategies that are working, invest in our local leaders, not militarize our National Guard to now become law enforcement officers. What we need to do is continue to invest in local policing, and what we need to do is allow our local leaders to lead the way when it comes to making Memphis safe. Look, Memphis is experiencing crime challenges just like all major cities across the United States because our Republican legislators and the Trump administration refuse to invest in adequate health care, affordable housing, increasing wages, all the determining factors of crime. And when you have a black city like Memphis that has been disinvested in for decades and decades, no wonder there are challenges when it comes to public safety. But make no mistake, this decision is a short-term Band-Aid effect on trying to fight crime. If we really want to get to the meat and potatoes of this issue, send all federal resources down to improve programming for children, to improve healthcare access, to bring more affordable housing. But don't just bring the military in. That's not going to make any real impact on anybody's lives, but scare them for a couple of weeks.
Congressman Cohen, I want to push back a little bit on something you said, that Democrats are against these military deployments and Republicans are for them. But there is one outlier in what you mentioned, which is the fact that D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser, essentially credited and applauded the Trump administration's work in Washington, D.C., said that they had been successful in tamping down crime and welcomed them to sort of stay in Washington indefinitely. Obviously, D.C. is a little bit different than the average city. There are some political factors here that she's dealing with. The city is uniquely vulnerable to federal incursion. But is there anything that you think that Democrats can take away from her messaging, especially with crime and public safety at the top of the list for a lot of Democratic voters and constituencies?
Well, I know Mary Young had talked to Mayor Bowser to get her thoughts about it. And a lot of what I read that the federal troops did was cleaning up debris, which is fine. And they could do that. There's a blight in the city, and they could help with some backroom stuff on some administrative work. But I don't think Mayor Bowser wants the National Guard to stay there and do police work. And I don't know, the DEA, maybe the FBI, yes, the AFT, yes. They could be some forces like that are trained as police officers. The National Guard is not trained as police officers, and they were fish out of water. And standing around Union Station or standing around the mall was not, it didn't help particularly. And I don't know that it helped that much. What I read about, and of course the papers only report so much, was a lot of the crime was small crime, guy smoking marijuana on the corner at Logan Circle, and then another person drinking alcohol out of a cup. And they brought in ICE, and they did a lot of ICE. I'm not sure what major crimes that they did, but certainly they didn't change Washington from what crime problem that Trump described about 2 months ago as being awful and all this stuff, to where after he had his meal at Joe Stone Crabs, he said it's the safest city in the world. Well, after he takes the National Guard out of Memphis, I want him to come here and say Memphis is the safest city in the world, and Memphis is safe, and David Cohn is still walking in Memphis.
State Senator Lamar, before we let you both go, the governor of your state has been there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 7 years. They have done some things about crime in Memphis, but it didn't seem like it was this humongous deal that the military needed to come in last month or the months before that. So talk through kind of how you and others are viewing his role in kind of teaming up with President Trump in what Congressman Cohen called a stunt.
Well, the sad part about it is the Republican administration in Tennessee is not going to push back on Trump. Anything he says goes. They are just going to follow everything he says. So I had no hope that our governor would push back on Trump's idea of bringing the military into Memphis, because much of everything else when it comes to Project 2025 that Trump has proposed, Tennessee Republicans have implemented alongside. Under these last 7 years, they have taken back gun laws. They have let guns flood the streets, have loosened gun laws, and what you've seen was an uptick in crime. So what I would say, under the last 15 years of Republican control, our community have gotten more unsafe. Guns are the leading cause of death for children in Tennessee, and it isn't because we have done so much to be tough on crime. It is because we have loosened laws around guns and making our communities unsafe and not investing in education, affordable housing, and other indicators of a good life. And what you're seeing is a political stunt around messaging that this is a crime-ridden city of people that don't want to work or who are committing crimes, and that's just untrue. Memphis is an amazing city. Memphis has a history of Martin Luther King, of justice, of fighting, and that is what we're going to show America with Trump sending the National Guard. This is not going to break us. This is going to make our city stronger, and we're going to show you how to lead in a time where the world thinks that we are just going to fall to the Trump administration. We're going to truly show our strength in this moment. We're going to show that to the governor, to the Republicans, and to the Trump administration. We are ready to work.